Jesus said, "I am the good shepherd." A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired man, who is not a shepherd and whose sheep are not his own, sees a wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf catches and scatters them. This is because he works for pay and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine, and mine know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These I must also leave, and they will hear my voice. And there will be one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own. I have the power to lay it down, and the power to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
There's a story about a young priest at his first parish. He was teaching the 23rd Psalm to the young class, Sunday school or CCD. But he told the children about the sheep, and that sheep weren't very smart and they needed lots of guidance. He told them the shepherd's job was to stay close to the sheep and to protect them from wild animals and to keep them from wandering off. Pointed to little children in the room and said they were the sheep and they needed lots of guidance. And the pastor put his hands out to the side, palms up in a dramatic gesture. Pretty dramatic. And he said, "If you are the sheep, then who is the shepherd?" He's pretty sure the kids got the message and would point to him as the shepherd. But there was a silence for a few seconds, and a little girl said, "Jesus! Jesus is the shepherd." Young pastor was kind of caught by surprise, and he says, "Well, then who am I?" And the little girl thought a minute, and he said, "I think you must be the sheepdog." I'd sort of hoped earlier that his Father John was sitting here for that one, but it said that every pastor ought to have 6 weeks of vacation every year, because if they're a really good shepherd, they deserve it, and if he's not, the congregation deserves it. Well, at least we know we've got a good one, so I guess he deserves it. This year in November, at the beginning of the liturgical year, Bishop Foy's called for a year of prayer for priestly vocations. We've got the prayer cards in the back of the missal, and we were all sent a personal copy of it. But today is the day that comes together. Today is Good Shepherd Sunday, but it's also the World Day of Prayer for Vocations. It's today that the church reminds us of our own call to become good shepherds of God's flock, the good sheep of His parish. We're invited to pray for vocations for the priesthood, for the diaconate and consecrated life. As you know, both the Old and New Testament use the image of a shepherd and his flock to describe the unique relationship of God with Israel and with Christ with Christians. In the Old Testament, the 23rd Psalm is a beautiful image of being protected by the Good Shepherd as we walk through life. Today's Gospel has 2 brief images to show us Jesus as the Good Shepherd. That first image is as a gateway to eternal salvation, the sheep gate. The shepherd guards the sheep gate. And the second image is of a selfless, caring shepherd who provides his sheep with protection and life itself. We each need to become good shepherds and good leaders. Everyone who's entrusted with the care of others is a shepherd. This means pastors, parents, teachers, doctors, nurses, government officials, all kinds of things are all shepherds. And we become good shepherds by loving those entrusted to us, by praying for them and spending our time and our talents and our blessings for their welfare, for guarding them from physical and spiritual dangers. As parents, we need to be especially careful in those duties by giving a good example and instruction to the children, training them in Christian principles. As parents, that's often tough, especially as they grow and become teenagers and adults and they start to have their own mind on how they approach their lives. We have to keep praying. We have to keep on this. But we have examples in those same parents and teachers and police officers, firemen, doctors, nurses, caregivers, civic leaders as shepherds, and that list just goes on. But no, there are shepherds, and there's the hired men, as Jesus put it today. The hired man acts in his own self-interest and is not to be confused with the good shepherd. We're also got double duty here. We are the sheep in the fold of Christ. Our parish is our sheepfold, and our pastor is our shepherd. And we're blessed to have Father John as our pastor. But we must recognize that all priests in all parishes have received that call, the vocation, the graces, to be a shepherd to the Christian people. We're blessed to have priests like Father Robbins here with us today to celebrate Mass and to share the pastoral duties that come with a growing parish. Remember, Jesus is the high priest. Bishops are the successors of the apostles. Priests are their helpers and our local shepherds. And sometimes they even have to be the sheepdog to keep us in line, to keep us going. And we as parishioners are the sheep. As a good sheep of the parish, we as parishioners are expected to hear and follow the voice of our shepherds through their homilies, Bible studies, counseling. We receive the spiritual food given to us by our pastors through our regular participation in Holy Mass, by our frequently going through and receiving the sacraments, becoming active participants in the many activities in our parish. And we truly do need to pray for vocations. Today, we need to pray for our shepherds in the church, for the Pope, the bishops, and all priests. We pray that the Lord will help them become more faithful and more effective in their ministry, and that they use their authority properly to serve and care for the people of God. In a very special way, we must never forget to pray for the many victims of the shameful behavior and crimes of some unfaithful shepherds. May Jesus, the Good Shepherd, heal their wounds and ease their pain as they struggle to rebuild their lives. As I said earlier, today is the World Day of Prayer for Vocations. We need to pray for more young people to answer the call to the priesthood and religious life, so that there will be enough true shepherds to care for His flock. We must remember also to pray for the leaders in our government, that they may be blessed with sincere humility and true compassion for the people they vowed to serve. But more importantly, we need to pray for one another. In our baptism, we shared the kingship of Christ, and that's a kingship of service. We are servants. We are shepherds. We must always be that to one another. Try to imagine a world where people don't expect to be served, but all are eager to serve and to care for one another. If that's the case, heaven begins right here on earth.